What's up, everybody? If you don't know who I am, you're probably new to the channel. So, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Garrison. And today we're going to do a reaction video. Now, I initially didn't want to do a reaction video. I wanted this to be all gameplay. But I'm not behind, but I'm not where I want to be. I'm probably going to watch them all straight through and not have an intro. Do my next for the next couple of videos I do. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all later.
Fumbled awkwardly in his pocket with his free hand, searching for the keys to the front door. He'd wished he'd have left the porch light on, but no, that was out of the question. He couldn't risk the chance of being seen with this parcel slung carelessly over his shoulder. After what seemed like an eternity, his fingers finally closed around his lucky pink rabbit's foot. It was a gift from his wife. Yeah, not so lucky tonight, he thought ruefully. He withdrew his keychain from his pocket and miraculously singled out the house key from the others.
Why is that bag so big?
He inserted it into the knob and turned it. There was an audible click sound as the mechanism disengaged. He glanced over his shoulder, looking at the neighborhood cautiously. It wasn't very late in the evening on this fall night, yet it had already grown dark. Most of his neighbors would be enjoying their dinner or catching up on the evening news, so he wasn't too concerned.
I'm betting there's a body in there.
He turned the knob,
probably his wife's,
and began to open the door. Then, suddenly hesitated. Was that? No, couldn't be. He could swear he heard a muffled giggle from inside, but he must have been mistaken. He knew the house was empty. He took a deep breath, coaxing himself to relax as he stepped through the threshold. The increasingly heavy and frustratingly awkward parcel was nearly slipping from his grasp. He entered the doorway, closed the door behind him, and fumbled with the light switch. Suddenly, his living room was awash in bright overhead lights and... Surprise! Stunned, he gasped. Before him, leaping from corners and shadows, and from behind the couch in the bar, were dozens of people. Family, friends, co-workers, neighbors. Everyone was here. He was
they could see you had a body.
Happy birthday!
The parcel that was precariously balanced upon his left shoulder slipped and thudded to the floor. From within the loosely round roll of discarded carpet, his wife's hand flopped out, and her wedding ring sparkled beneath the fluorescent bulbs.
Why'd you do it, bro? Alrighty. I was originally planning on only watching one, but that one didn't feel scary enough. So
in rural Indiana,
let's
USA.
go to Playhouse.
Our
Llama
neighbors aren't too far apart, but we all live on a lot of property. On our properties, we have a lot of trees, and our neighbor doesn't maintain their property well, so a lot of it's overgrown. You know, a couple of fallen trees and a lot of downed branches. We knew the state of their property was probably because it was an older couple that owned the house and the property was vast. We have a creek separating our homes as well, but a small strip of their property is accessible from our backyard. Due to the overgrowth in trees, we weren't able to see much of their property when we first moved in the summer, and of course we didn't go onto their land because we didn't want to trespass. One night, my daughter and her friend were camping in the backyard and ran inside, swearing that they heard a kid laughing or crying in our backyard. I figured it was their imagination from too many scary stories while in the tent, but went out to investigate briefly just in case. I heard a faint noise coming from just beyond our property line. I moved the flashlight into the general direction and called out to whoever may be in the trees. The sound stopped. I decided it was probably just a couple of stray cats, but just in case, I had the girls set up the tent in the living room. The next day, after taking my daughter's friend home, curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate the area by our property line. As I neared the line of trees, I saw a small path I had never noticed before. Since I knew my neighbors were too far and the trees were too thick, they couldn't see me on their property, so I stepped onto the small path. I walked slowly, looking down, watching for poison ivy and fallen branches. I wasn't too far in when I saw a dirty, broken kid's toy on the ground, wrapped in overgrown weeds. I looked up, and in the distance I saw a small, white shed-like structure. As I got closer, there were more and more toys scattered on the ground, some partially buried, all broken and dirty. Then there was barbed wire, and I could see the front of the shed and realized it was a large playhouse with a wooden alphabet decorating the outside. I was starting to feel uneasy. This playhouse was at least half a mile or more from the only house on the property. I stopped in my tracks, letting my imagination go a little, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I must have jumped a foot off the ground, only to turn around and see that my daughter had followed me.
Okay, good.
Once my heart slowed down, I decided to get a closer look.
What to say?
There was more broken barbed wire fencing on the ground the closer we got. The window on the side was broken, and there was a hole in the roof. There was a broken train set, one a kid would be able to ride on. The front door had a white piece of wood set to lock someone in, not keep people out. At this point, my daughter was in full panic mode and begging for us to walk back to our house. But I had to at least look through the window, or my mind would wander with all the possibilities of what could be in there.
Curiosity killed the cat.
As I was stepping to the side of the shed, my daughter was following close behind.
In this case, it could get you and your daughter killed.
She was paying more attention to me than where she was stepping.
Oh!
And she cut her leg pretty deep on some barbed wire that was hidden in overgrowth.
Oh my gosh.
I quickly glanced inside the window, only to see a partially dirt floor and broken wood, and a large wooden bench with a dark stain on top.
Blood.
I picked up my daughter, who was determined her leg was going to fall off. We left the neighbor's property, and I took her to the doctor to get a tetanus shot. How'd
you get that in your leg,
That night after dinner, I let the dog out, but couldn't get her to come back in. I let her stay outside for a while and checked again a little later. Our dog still wouldn't come in, and I noticed she was standing by the path we took earlier. I grabbed a flashlight and her leash and headed out to her. She was pacing, whining, and sniffing around everywhere. I figured it was from the blood earlier, but she never ventured onto the path. Then, I heard the giggling of a little girl.
Oh, crap.
I called out to the child, but there was no answer in return, just some rustling in the leaves. I ran inside with the dog to check on my daughter.
I seemed like the house got farther.
In the house. She was laying in bed, fast asleep. The next morning, I went straight to the playhouse, but as I was approaching, something was wrong. The broken toys seemed to be in different places, and when I got to the playhouse, my heart felt like it was a ton of bricks. All over the side of the playhouse were children's drawings, in my daughter's blood.
She lost that much blood? It's either that or the person's just very talented with their limited resources.